Learning about Gemara. Today's daf is daf. Actually, this is the end of Bava Kama. Thursday, daf Kuf Yud Tes. Okay, we start Bava Metzia daf Kuf on Friday. Says the Gemara. They're up to the two dots on the top of the page. So talk. Oh, at the bottom. Sorry. Ches at the very bottom of the page. Two dots. The two dots. Rabbi Yehuda says if it's a domestic animal, you can buy it from them. But if it's an animal roaming out in the wilderness, you cannot buy from them because we suspect that it's stolen, and the owner doesn't really know what's going on. Says the Gemara. I have a question. Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara will explain the question a minute. Is he arguing the beginning of the Mishnah and he's being strict? Or in the Braisa, or he's talking about the Sefer. He's talking about you can buy from them, a lot of sheep because the owner would notice it. So he must be honest, like 4 or 5 sheep, but he cannot buy 2 sheep because that he thinks he can get away with. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says that if it's a domestic animal you can buy, but if it's out in the wilderness you can't. What's exactly referring to? Is he talking about the Reishul Chumrah as being strict? In other words, that which you say that you 4 or 5 you can buy, I'm telling you can only buy if it's a domestic animal here. But if it's out in the wilderness, even 4 or 5 you cannot buy. Is that what he's saying? He's being machmer. Ideal ma sefer. The sefer where it says 2 you should not buy. Is he saying when should you not? I mean, he's being lenient. Don't buy 2 if it's in the wilderness. But if it's domestic, even 2 you could buy because the owner noticed it. What's he saying? Our Mishnah says, but I said you can buy 4 or 5. Anybody else is only if it's domestic. He's being machmir, but out in the wilderness, if you're even 4 or 5 don't buy. You're saying that 2 you shouldn't buy. Don't buy that. Body is only out in the wilderness. But if it's domestic, in town, even 2 you could buy because the owner will notice. What's he saying? Here, the Braisa, the time you learn you can buy domestic, but ain't like him bodies. Don't buy the out in the wilderness. Wherever you are, you can always buy 4 or 5. So obviously, he's trying to be lenient. He's talking about that which you said that you shouldn't buy 2. He's saying about domestic 2 you can buy. Then it said you shouldn't buy anything for somebody. The Mishnah says somebody watches payers because you don't know if he sells you fruits or wood. He might be selling you from the field that he's minding. The most dangerous people are the security guards. Rav Zovin Shabishta Marisa. Rav once bought a bundle of branches from a sharecropper. But now didn't we learn? It can't be Rab. It must be Rabba. Didn't we learn? You should not buy from a Shemer Paydas, 8 Simmer Paydas. Why buying fruits from the sharecropper? Only buy a guard, the less of a goof without it. He doesn't have any ownership at all. At all. But a sharecropper, he has that just to show he's giving me from his. Why would he steal? If he's selling, he's definitely selling his own. Tell him I learned. They paid it. Those are mine. Paid as man. You buy you can buy from them when they're sitting and selling, in other words, in a permanent way. So obviously, it's one thing in the backyard, the back door, but if it's in the front and open, obviously he's being honest. The basket from them, the turtinifnet, all of these things. But he looks like a proper operator, and he has a scale there and a scale. The kulan sha'amru hatman also, but all those, if they say, let's go, let's do discreetly. The moment you hear discreetly, no matter what excuse he gives you, be suspicious. Like him the Pesach again in front of the garden, not in the back of the garden, for obvious reasons. Eat what we learned. Gazlin. I don't understand the Gemara, but maybe you guys can help me. A Gazlin. When can you buy from a Gazlin and say he's probably selling his own products, not stolen goods? Rav said. No. As opposed to how can you try? He said this is mine. You're not allowed to buy stolen goods. Yeah, but not everything has Zayla. And he's telling you, this is I bought with honest money. When can you rely on that? So Rav says, but that most of the things that he owns are his own. And Shmuel said, feel immediately, even a little bit. How in the world does anyone know what percentage of a guy? But he tells the guys, I don't know. I really don't understand practically how the Gemara works. Rabbi Yehuda once said to Rabbi who was a shamish, even in meat shalai, that even if only a drop of it is his, you can assume that this Ganav, although he's a Ganav, if he's honest, if he says he's selling you his own, he'll say, why should he sell stolen if he can sell his own? Yeah, he's not a Ganav. Yeah, Moser, somebody who is an informer, and he gives the government the higher places of your money, let's say. And we had this all before, whether the government put pressure on you or whether you just came a volunteer. And then we talk about if you actually carry the money over. Not only remember a little before you're allowed to kill him, but you're allowed to if he has belongings, you're allowed to throw them away. You don't have to take care of it at all. And I'll take away his things and throw it away. You're allowed to kill him. If he falls in a pit, you're allowed to push him into the pit, and you don't have to take him out and save him at all. So why should he be worried about his money more than himself? Surely you can throw it away. Also allowed the dilma. Interesting. You know why his money you shouldn't throw away? Because what happens to a person with his possessions when he dies? His heirs take over. Just because a person's a Russia doesn't mean that his children will be shine. Dilma have ma'alia. Maybe we'll have good children. When it says Yachin Russia, the Russia prepares. Oh, but tzaddik will wear it. Tzaddik will have it. Now, by Moshe Rabbeinu, he looked to see their children, because the Gemara says, and that's by a goy, and you always look to see the future. So therefore, made this hope. We had in the Dorim, but the children of Maratzim are Tamid Chachamim. So therefore, you're not allowed to throw it away. Okay, so much further, Rav Chizda had a sharecropper that would tackle v'shakel. He had a sharecropper that is two pshatim and Rashi. The first one people have a difficulty understanding. The first one is they had a percentage. He measured to the last millimeter or the last what do you call gram to make sure that they both have exactly what they're supposed to have. Sauke, he fired him. Koranavshe, he said about himself, what's hidden for the tzaddik is that which the chayte piles up. And before I have a hard understanding, okay, the guy is so exact, a yeker. So for that, he fired him. So Rashi is another pshat. That a normal sharecropper takes a third or a quarter. He took a half. He took much more than he was entitled to. That's why he fired him. And because he was taking too much. And it wasn't part of the agreement. If it would have been part of the agreement, again, there's nothing wrong. The agreement was a third, and he ended up taking a half. Okay, so therefore, he's like a ganef. And he fired him. He weighed and he took, and he weighed and he gave. So it doesn't say it's 50-50, exactly. But he shouldn't have taken 50-50. Rashi says here, and obviously they didn't make it up, because they made it up, then what's the problem? That's what they agreed on. Anyways, now the Gemara will talk about how terrible it is to be a ganef. You're not just taking his money, there's a lot more to it than that. So the pasuk in Matikvas Chanav, what hope does a Chanav have? Somebody, a swindler, or somebody who, for literal translation, is a hypocrite, but over here it's probably a ganef. Why? Ki yivtza, when he steals, ki yaishol al-kai nafsha, the Abish will throw away nafsha, his nefesh. Now we're not sure whose nefesh are we talking about? What are we talking about here? When you're stealing, you're actually hurting the nigzel. When Chadam Nafshe Shagav, the Abish will throw away your nefesh. So Gemara says, Mandam Nafshe Shanizil says in another passage where it says, Kain Orcha is called B'Tzeh. So this is the way of all those who steal. As nefesh ba'al levikach, they steal not just his money, they steal the guy's menuchas hanefesh, they steal his life, they steal everything. Mandam Nafshe Shagazin, the Chsib is another passage where it says, Al Tigzel do not steal from a poor person like Kidalu, he's poor. Val Tadake Oni Bashar, do not press the person by the gate. Why? Ki Hashem Yoravim, Hashem will fight their wars. The cover as Kaveim, and those who steal nefesh, because he's stealing a nefesh. Those the Gazlan. The Gazlan is the one who the cover Kaveim nefesh. The Abish will take away your nefesh from those who steal from these poor people. So then it's talking about that the Abish will throw away the nefesh of the Gazlan. Not that the Gazans threw away the nefesh of the victim. My the hashta, the new owners. The new owners are going to lose their nefesh for what they did. It's a terrible crime. It covers kaveim nefesh. The Abish will hurt those who steal because nefesh by taking away the nefesh. Matam coming. He's explaining matam the covers kaveim. You know why the Abish is going to hurt those who steal? Mishum the kaveim not cover nefesh because they stole the nigzel's nefesh. So they're arguing who gets hurt the most. You steal even the minimum amount, you are actually hurting them personally, and you're stealing the nefesh. Remember, it says, the person steals, they're taking from the owner. And it says in the pasuk, they will eat your harvest and your bread. And then it says, It will they'll also consume your children. And it says that we bring a number of psukim. We're going to find out why we need all the psukim. And it says mechamas bnei Yehuda, that you are stealing like Hamas, which means you give money from bnei Yehuda. They spilled innocent blood of their thing. And it says El Shol. The reason is because the Shol based on the Shol. They killed all these Gibeonim, and the Shol killed the Gibeonim. That's why he got his punishment there. When you somebody took it for the chitem is nefesh the day. Okay, when you steal from a person, you're stealing his nefesh. Abel nefesh bono, you're not hurting his children. So shma basar bono, but it says clearly in the passage that you're also hurting the children as well. You have dummy. You say, okay, when is it so terrible if you don't pay for it? Abel hechad you have dummy. Okay, you force this for cows to sell. You throw the money and take it away by force. Maybe that's not so bad. Loy toshma mechamas bnei Yehuda sheshovcha dam noki ba'artzim. Chitem you can say hani mili hechad. That's what we're talking about if you did it physically. If you just caused someone to lose, lo, you're not so bad. Toshma, el shobes adamim, al shehem is givanim. When it shall kill the givanim?
Kill the people who fed the givanim.
Exactly. Hey, metzina shaharik shal givanim. Where do you find they killed them? El matoich shaharik neighbor Kanye. He destroyed the city of Kanye. Shoy maspik l'mayim mazon, that they provide them with water and food. Malavakasik ilahagas, as if you killed them. You're allowed to buy from women small amounts. We said wool in Yehuda and flax in Galil and calves in Sharon. So the Gemara, that's what we learned. Also does not buy wine, oil, and flour, because generally men used to sell them, and they don't make their wives stand there and sell them. And therefore, we're saying maybe they have no right to sell them. Not from servants, not from children. Small amounts they can sell. They last as keep the she needs. She wants a hat for her head. She's allowed to sell small amounts. The kulan, because surely the husband would have given it to her. The kulan sha'amru lahatmin also, but anybody under any pretext says let's do it discreetly, it's forbidden. God bites dog if you're a mashulach and you come to somebody's house and the wife is there. You only take a little bit from them. But not a lot. So there's a long Yehuda on this, and the truth is, and the question is, David Melech took from Abigail, who later became his wife, Novel's property. How can she give him for Novel's property? So let me give a bunch of answers. Either because the Gabi Novel was considered a small man, he was a very rich man. He was a mite. You don't want to give anything to David. You want to sell David. Very rich man, and therefore it's nothing, and therefore she's allowed to give it away. But the Pashup shot there is, let me give the answer there. But the Pashup shot is, he's going to say this one. She saved Novel's life by giving to David Melech. She did it for the husband. She didn't do it to make money for herself. So therefore, she should be allowed to. Anyway, those who the olive press is leichman zaysim, you're allowed to take olive the meat if it's a large amount. The shemen, the meat, a large amount. She would never have done it unless she had reshus from her husband. But now if you do a little bit, she might have, here, just the opposite. Here, because it's very chashuv, maybe she did not get permission to sell small amount. But it's a large amount, obviously, if she's so brazen, definitely she had permission. Or Rashi bin Elabshad, Mamud is the name of the wine, is the olive press itself. If she's standing outside like a normal person selling, but by the olive press, sounds like she's doing it discreetly behind her husband's back. Now, obviously, if the wife works, the money's her own, and she can do whatever she wants. If she tells the husband, leave me alone. Rashbag said you're allowed to buy olives in Yom Tov Galil, Elyon, Upper Galil. So their oil is very expensive. Definitely, the husband must have allowed her to do it. Sometimes a man, I'm not sure exactly why, he's embarrassed to be selling oil. It looks like he needs the money. But nice, he said, wife, do me a favor, you sell. We know that in history, that in the last few hundred years in Eastern Europe, it was the women who ran all the stores, and the men sat in the shul and learned the whole day. Lots of people read any story from the Amal, you see. So it's not a myth. That's how it was.
It's a myth. I don't think it was.
It seems like it was prevalent. No, okay, it seems very prevalent. The women came. They put before them all kinds of jewelry, bracelets, and all that. And the Kobmanai, and he took it from them. I'm not sure exactly why they brought it to him. Presents or something. It looks like he was taking it as tzedakah. So they bring him jewelry for tzedakah. Compared to the very rich people, and therefore for them, this is small stuff. Now the last Mishnah here all has to do with what we learn in Shabbos, and we skim through as well because it's hard to know, is all about looms and how you sew and weave things. We had it many years ago in Melbourne. There was an author of a sefer called Maise Oyrig. He lived in London, and he spent a lifetime. He somehow or another found these old, looms and his old weaving machines, and he put them together like the Gemara said, and he worked out all these Gemaras talk about butter knitting and all of these things. Yeah, exactly. So he worked out the whole thing, and he had pictures. He came in, he showed a slideshow and everything else. So a little bit remained, but we'll skim through it because I don't really know how these things work so well.
Spend your life
Yeah, but it was a big help because he's like the only one who really explains it.
Yeah, working.
I think even Art Scroll, all the pictures I have kept in his book. It's called Maise Oydig. Muching material shakoives mighty. Let's say a launderer and little strings, wool fall off. If it's a small amount, you can keep it because the owner is not makbid. Only small amounts. So, like for example, you soak in the water and then things float above. You can keep it. And you're not a got it. If somebody combs and hairs come through, moitzi a comb, a lot of hair comes out between. When you use a comb, a lot comes out, and that the balabas is makbid. So they belong to the balabas. Koiv a launderer, noitel gimel chuti in behein shaloi. Koiv takes only 3 strings. We'll see later what the 3 strings are. 3 threads. Yes, more than 3 threads, you cannot take it because there is a substantial amount of material. It belongs to Balbas. But if it's black threads on top of white, which is totally out of place, doesn't matter how many threads there are. The owner is very happy for you to take it off, remove them because it does not enhance the beged. A tailor, he leaves behind enough of the thread in order to use it to continue to sew. That's a large enough piece. You shouldn't take it. Or a matli, it's a piece of a cloth after you made a garment, and you have a little bit of cloth left. She gimel, that's 3 fingers by 3 fingers, so it can be used as a patch. Once it's 3 fingers by 3 fingers, we look for laws of tumah, for example, it's makabel tumah. Once it's big enough to be a patch, then it's choshev. You cannot take it because it belongs to the balabas. If you're a carpenter and you use like a little, I don't know what it's called, a little tiny hammer, the little pieces that come off, is insignificant. But if it's an axe, the big pieces come off, then shabalabais. But if you actually worked in the balabas's house, then even little tiny pieces or even sawdust all belongs to the balabas. So the difference in our mission is between if you did it on the premises of the balabas, which is right there, or if you did it in your own house or a different place, it's a bother to bring it. But Rashi makes a difference whether you're an employee or whether you're a contractor. But if you're an employee, then it belongs to balabas. If you're a contractor, it belongs to you. So the Torah Bami learned. Look, you're allowed to take a little material left over from laundry, and the top 2 strings are yours. You shouldn't take more than 3. So Rashi explains it something along the lines that they used to, when they made the material, they should stretch it out on the machine, and when they stretch it out, they would make little hooks, and they would have little hooks there, and they would make it, very taut, stretch out the threads and everything else. And when they stretched it out, so part of the strings at the ends were no good, so you would cut off a little bit of the strings at the end. And so if it's less than 3 strings less, you can keep it because it's not really proper thing. But more than 3 strings, it's chashuv enough to use something else. But when you comb a beggar, do not do it lengthwise, I guess, because maybe too much comes off. Only widthwise. But when you straighten it out, when you cut down, now you made all these looms and it goes in like this all the time. So you cut down lengthwise, not widthwise. You're allowed to cut off material up to the size of a tefach to straighten it out. So it's quite sizable amounts of material, but you're allowed to because the owner is happy to remove them. It depends on if it's thick string, only 2. If it's thin ones, you can have 3. When it comes to a shirt, then you do it lengthwise. But if it comes to a very fancy dress, then you should not what do you call it? You should do it lengthwise because somehow or another, you do it lengthwise, it makes the material a lot nicer, but not strong. So if you're going to wear on a daily basis like jeans, you should do it widthwise. But if you're wearing for a simcha or something, then it looks fluffier and everything else. You comb it lengthwise. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but just how it is. You comb it lengthwise, as they say, and then it lasts longer. It doesn't last long, but if you're not wearing it, it looks better. Today, if you have a thread that you're going in and out, when you say you're up to three strings, when you make three stitches there, when you go in and out, as you know, when you go in and out, in and out consider one, or in and out consider two. Take it. You straighten it out lengthwise, but not, you cut down lengthwise, not widthwise. But then you look for Kasha. The glima. Here we're talking about when it's a shirt, again, a nice shirt. And here we're talking about whatever the hamyoin is, I'm not sure. So I learned, ain't like from outside of Muchin, you do not buy from somebody who comes. These pieces of material, it's not his. Well, the minute that people usually let the guy comb or keep the materials, then you can buy it. You could always buy tar mole. He sells you a pillow, even though the stuffing is full of this material. You're allowed to buy. Maybe you stole it, but it was a shinning because he changed the material and made it into stuffing for a pillow, and he made a pillow out of it. That's a shinning if we can keep it regardless. Because in my time, even if he stole it, it's a shinning and you're kind of. Probably learn. Ain't like in the gardi. You don't buy from a guy, a weaver, light knitting, the light punkelin. These are the heddles and these are the holes. When you have these, you have them on this loom, you have these little holes there. And then you put the string through the holes. So these holes are the knitting. And so you don't buy from them. You don't buy from them the knitting, the light, nor do you buy the punkelin. I'm not sure what part of the machine these are. The loy shiyure peki is leftover bundles of material. They used to put bundle material in some of the holes there to hold it in place. You can't buy that because it probably belongs to the balabas. You shouldn't have kept it. I would like when you could buy from the beged manumar, a spotted beged you're allowed to buy that. That you're allowed to buy. Again, because he would have made a shinner, so you can buy that. Tavi va'arig, if it's spun and woven. So the Gemara Amrehash to Tavi Shok, if you're allowed to take it, if it's spun, you're allowed to take it. So these things, the last thing we learned, even though it was stolen, he made a shinny. And because he made a shinny, you're allowed to keep it. So if he had spun, if he got raw materials from Balabas, and now it's spun, even if he did it himself, it's a shinny. So therefore, you can buy from him. So Tavi or Oding, if Mamish wove a garment out of it, you can keep it. I'm going to ask a question. If the thread already is, you're allowed to buy because it's spun, surely you're allowed to keep the woven material. So how come my Oding tichif? Let's say it's felt, which is not spun. You made a material out of it. That's what we're talking about. That was you didn't use spun thread. You used the raw material and you made some kind of a garment. Since the shinny, you're allowed to keep it. You're not allowed to buy from a person who does dye samples. So the guy, if he has a little sample array with that color on it, you're not allowed to buy that either because it probably came from the balbos. He said, "Hey, I want you to match this color." But like not the cut off piece of wool, begets savua. But if the entire garment is colored, you're allowed to get even stolen. It's a shini. You change the color. Tavi begodim, and then it says you're allowed to buy if it's spun and fully garments. Hash to tavi shakal begodim. But if you're allowed to take spun, with the color, you're allowed to tell begodim. My begodim namti. This is felt. So again, we're saying the same thing. Says the Gemara. If somebody gave hides for a tanner, hakitsuya, in the little piece that are cut off, lushin, kitsuya, whether you're going to be straighten it out, or lushin stam that you pulled wool off from the you pulled this hair out of the leather, is hariyosha balabais. It's significant enough that they belong to balabas. But the ha'olam is not in mind. If he puts in the water and things come up automatically, then hariyosha. That's so insignificant. They're not really attached. Then you keep it. Black thread and white. Rabbi Yehuda says katra shmei. A person who's a launderer is called a katra. The katra shakol. Why his job is to also cut down the material if it's not square, if it's not even, and he can keep it. All of these threads, if you didn't pull them off, when you buy chelas, it has to be a certain length from the tzitz, be a certain length from the hole on the beged. Even though if you pull them off, you can keep them, but if they're still attached, they consider part of the beged, and you work your fingers from there. They say that's part of the material, and you can have the strings at the end if that's removed from the hole. Yitzchak, my son, he said because you can take it off or you can keep it, it's not really part of the beged. So the Gemara, if he left behind the stream, the camel lit for how much is enough to sew? How much lit for enough thread to sew? Then you have to leave it. What is it? The length, the length of one needle, and the chutz lemachet. And you need outside of the needle, besides the length of the needle, you need a bit extra string. Says the Gemara, you need the length of the needle and then another equal length. Or drop longer than the needle. That's what coming. How do you learn? If a tailor left behind a string, less than enough to sew with, or matli is a piece cloth, less than 3 by 3. Bisman Shabalabais Makrele, the Balabas is particular Hadesh Shabalabais. They belong to Balabais. Aim Balabais Makrele and Hadesh his. Now, tell me if you tell me that it's besides the length of the needle, another length of the needle, then I understand. If it's less than that, you're telling me that if it's less than that, you can keep it, but I can still do something with it. I can still have a use for it. These are for the things we said before, to tie the chubin on top of the page, to tie the material to the side posts. But if you can tell me, all it is, you need a little bit of a string more than a needle. Anything less than that, what do you mean? What do you do with it? It has to be the length of the thread that we say that you can no longer keep it is if it's long enough to use it's longer than the needle, and then equally so. The carpenter, but I mean, that what it says that what a chedesh takes away with his little hammer. If you cut with a saw, you cut wood, long piece of wood, you cut them down. Here it says clearly that if you use the matzah, the shavings or the little pieces belong to Balabas, and Amish says matzah belongs to the carpenter. Someone use a drill, if you use this thing called a plane, which smooths out the wood, if you saw, and then you have sawdust, like a little tiny piece of fall off, all belong to all belong to him. So our question is the matzah, what's going on here? The little hammer, our Mishnah says that you can keep the little pieces, and here it says clearly you can't. Amar Rabba, there's two kinds of matzah. The Asa, the Tanna, and our Mishnah, iketarti chatzina. There are two different kinds of hammers. So the Rabbi said the large one, karele kashel, they call that a kashel, it's like an axe. Well, there's a small one, karele matzah. So therefore, Amish know about a small one, and all does is small pieces. So therefore, you can keep it. But Asa, the Tana Bra, but in the place where the Tana the Bryce is talking about chadud ika, the karele matzah. They only have one size, and then it's a big one, and it's called a matzah, and have big pieces. So just because it's the same word, you're not talking about the same item. Now it says if he was working, so what we learned that if somebody, let's say, carves out stones or smooths out stones, the pieces that fall off, the chips, there's no stealing. If the Babai doesn't care, then it's yours. His chazis and a little green, didn't have them grown yet. There's no Isser of Gezel over here. But Asa, the cup the Yezbem Shem Gezel, but in a place where they are makpid, there is Gezel. It's called Gezel. Amar Rabina. Now, if anyone you want to don't listen if you want to use that as a theme for anybody's a b'chayre. No b'chayre. Umasa Mechasya at Asa the cup. The place Mechasya is a place where they're makpid. Now, what's interesting is the Mashah, beautiful Mashah. If you look at the last Rashi, Umasa Mechasya says Rashi. Mokum behemoth, so this is an animal where animals travel. What's so special about the city of Mechasi? Tell me it's a place that they're so concerned about even these little green shoots. It's they need good pasture. So Mashal asked, why does he add the word toy? What's good pasture? Not good pasture. The idea that they animals they use it for feed. So he says, usually a Masechta tries to finish with Agadata or something nice. The problem is that Bava Kama is not the end of a Masechta. It's in fact there's a whole machlekes if you can make a seam of Bava Kama, even though we did it yesterday. But there's a whole machlekes if we can say, but if it's one Masechta like we had, all three Bava one Masechta, then what's the seam? So Rashi wanted to make up for it. He added the word toiv, so the last word of the Masechta should be good. And then he goes further. The last one says to be toiv, that's Rashi. And how did Rashi know that? From the Gemara. The Gemara says, Mosel Chasya, Asra the kapti hu. What does it say who for? It's extra. Just say Asra, and why kapti kapit? So he says, you look at it, it's Yud Kei Vav Aleph. The Gemara wants to finish up with toiv, so they finish with most of the Abish's name Yud Kei Vav. And the Aleph is the other name, Eke, which also has 3 of these letters here. Aleph, K, and Yud. So the Gemara want to finish with double toiv, and that's why they put in kapti hu. So that's so you put the word toiv in. That's why I put toiv in to tell you that the Gemara wanted to finish with something good. If you want to know why we use these words, very good.